Welcome back to GM Vision. Today we're going to be taking a look at Micah Parsons' record-breaking 4-year, $186 million contract. This contract makes Micah Parsons the highest paid non-QB in NFL history, averaging around $46.5 million per year with $136 million fully guaranteed. Now let's go take a look at the full contract breakdown and how this affects the Packers. But before we do that, please like the video, and if you haven't yet, subscribe. Okay, so now looking at the full contract breakdown. Now this contract really doesn't go into effect until 2026. The only part of this contract that goes into effect in 2025 is one part of the signing bonus. So $8.8 million of this signing bonus will go into 2025, but other than that, the rest of it is 2026 on, which is what we will focus on in this breakdown. So starting off with the base salary. The base salary is going to be the amount of money the player receives throughout a 17-game season per game. So as you can see, in 2027 and 2026, you see these numbers are really low, which will help the Packers with their cap flexibility at least until 2027. But then looking at 2028 and 2029, you see these monstrous cap hits of $40.5 million in 2028 and $43.5 million in 2029. Base salaries are not something that you can spread out or really avoid unless you were to restructure. But if the Packers do keep these numbers going into 2028 and 2029, their cap flexibility will be very limited. Okay, so now looking at the signing bonus. The signing bonus is going to be the amount of money that the player receives as soon as he signs his contract. Micah Parsons had a $44 million signing bonus, which got spread out through 5 years of his contract, like we talked about in 2025, and then in 2026 through 2029. Next, taking a look at option bonuses. These are a little harder to understand, so stick with me. Option bonuses can be triggered or start throughout any point in the contract. So in 2026, Micah Parsons had a $38 million option bonus trigger, which when divided by 5 is $7.6 million. So throughout the next 5 years, he will receive a $7.6 million option bonus. Then in 2027, he has an additional option bonus trigger of $34.3 million, which when divided by 5, because it will be spread out throughout the next 5 years, is $6.8 million. So that'll be added onto the other option bonus of $7.6 million to then make $14.4 million. And then those will get added together every year after that until the 5 years is up, respectively. Now, if you're wondering how an option bonus can be spread out for 5 years if his contract ends in 2029, there are things called void years, and the void years in his contract are 2030 and 2031, and void years are meant to take on extra bonus money that is spread past the final year of his contract. So the Packers will owe Micah Parsons $15.2 million throughout the 2 years after he is no longer contracted to be on the team. Okay, so now looking at the roster bonus. The roster bonus is going to be the amount of money a player receives if he is still on the roster by a specified date. So throughout the 4 years of his contract, you can see that he gets this $200,000. That is going to be a per game roster bonus that adds up to $200,000 each year. And then in 2029, he receives an extra $1 million for being on the team to go along with his per game roster bonus. Sometimes you do see these roster bonuses be a little bigger at the end of contracts, basically incentivizing the player to still be on the team in the later years, but here it's relatively low compared to how much money he got. Okay, so finally for the last type of bonus, the workout bonus. The workout bonus is going to be the amount of money that the player will receive if he participates in certain workouts that the team decides. For example, if he is there for mini camp or if he's there for voluntary OTAs, although we're not sure yet because that information is not publicly available. So now moving on to the final part, the cap hit, which is what is going to affect the Packers the most. So as you can see, in the first 2 years of this deal, the cap hit is going to be relatively low for the type of player that Micah Parsons is. But then when you look in 2028 and 2029, the third and fourth year of this deal, these numbers are pretty insane. I mean, $64.2 million and $68.2 million. That's a bigger cap hit than a lot of QBs have in the NFL. Now again, DN, outside linebacker, is one of the higher pay positions as well. But this is money that we really only see quarterbacks make. So with that being said, the Packers did have to give up one of their best players on defense and 2 first-round picks to get him, to go along with making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. But in this market, this is the amount of money that you would have to pay a premium player at this position. Now, I don't really believe in Super Bowl windows because I believe that if you have the cornerstone pieces of your franchise, a smart front office, good ownership, and good coaches, you can extend these windows for a very long time. But the Packers really do limit themselves with these huge cap hits in 2028 and 2029 when it comes to signing players from other teams in those years or even giving extensions to their own players. With that being said, let's go take a look at some of the incentives and escalators that are in the final part of this contract. Okay, so now looking at the incentives and escalators. Now this information is coming directly off of spottrack.com, and they do a great job of making this information publicly available. But they do have it listed that the incentives and the escalators are the same, so I'm not sure if that was a mistake or if that's just what's in the contract. But for now, we're going to assume that is just what's in the contract. So looking at the incentives, he's going to make $250,000 from 2027 to 2029 if he makes a Pro Bowl. And then the same thing in 2027 and 2029, he will make another $250,000 if he is first team All-Pro in any of those years. And then he will have the same thing in escalators in his contract. Something that we didn't talk about earlier, he did get $120 million guaranteed at signing, with $16 million of the 2027 and 2028 salary fully guaranteed early, which is an injury guarantee at signing. Okay, so now that we've looked at this contract as a whole, this is something unprecedented, but it is something that we're going to have to get used to. With the salary cap rising every year as much as it is, we will likely see bigger contracts being given out to these players every single year. So when it comes to the Packers, I think only time will tell if this contract ends up being worth it. But looking at his face value, you're getting a player that will probably be the best guy on defense for either team in any game he plays, and someone that can single-handedly win you games on the defensive side of the ball. So in my opinion, I think it was worth it giving him this deal, and I think it was worth it for the Packers going out and getting him. So with that being said, let me know down in the comments. Is Micah Parsons worth this contract? Did the Packers give up too much in trading for him? Also, let me know what contract breakdowns you want me to do next. Please like the video and subscribe if you're not already. That's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you in the next one.